So if you have been following me on Instagram lately, you have probably been seeing these flower videos I've been creating. So now it's your turn to learn how to create these flowers. And it's a really easy technique. It's a simulated based technique. So that means it's really organic and it looks so nice. So this is gonna be a two-part series, and I'm first gonna show you how to make the simple flower, and then I'm gonna show you a little bit more advanced flower in the next video. So without further ado, this is what we're gonna create in this little flower series. So here in Cinema, we're gonna be creating the first flower. And for all my flowers, I used the Most Spline. And with the Most Spline, we are going to go into the Symbol tab. On the length, we are gonna set the length to 100. We're gonna set the steps to 64. And we are going to be animating this parameter, which is the bend or the angle parameter, and we're also gonna be using this parameter, which is the bend parameter. We're also gonna be animating that. So let's go to frame 1, or I mean frame 0, and let's set it to 25 in the angle. Let's go to frame 90 and let's set it to 70, and let's go to the bend. Let's set it to 135, maybe, or 130, I think. It should just be intersecting with this y-axis line. I'm just gonna set a keyframe at 130, and then I'm gonna go to frame 90, and I'm gonna set a keyframe for minus 45. So now we have this animation. And I know that it really doesn't seem like much, but it's the key step to getting the flower to look right. So we're gonna call this petal, because this is gonna be our petal. And we're gonna put it inside of a null, and we're also gonna call that petal. And we're just gonna go into our Most Spline again. We're gonna set the segments to 6. Then we're gonna turn the H angle to 240. And then we get this, which is a bit weird, but I'm gonna show you why we need it at this angle in a bit. So let's go and create a cloner, and we'll put the petal group, the petal null, inside of the cloner. Inside of the cloner, we're gonna go and set it to radial. We're gonna go and set the radius to 0, and we're gonna set the count to 3. So as you can see here, let's just go out to our petal. And as you can see, we have some inner lines, some inner splines, and we have some middle splines and some outer splines. And that is what we need to create this flower. So let's go to frame 0, and let's go just hide this cloner, because we're gonna make some geometry. So let's make a plane here. Let's set it to 6 in the wide segments, and let's set it to 1 in the height segments. Let's set the height to 50, and let's set the wide to 100. And let's go and press C on it to make it editable. I'm just gonna go here to display and set it to hidden lines mode, so I can actually see what I'm doing. So we're gonna go to the points mode, and I'm just gonna take these points, bring them together. Also these and these. Then I'm gonna do the same here, but a little bit more aggressively, because this is actually gonna be the bottom of the flower. So we need to have a little bit more space for the other petals. So we're just gonna go to lines mode now, press KL to bring up the lines cut tool. Let's cut a line in the middle, and let's plus 1 up here. So we create 2 equal distance lines. All right. So we're gonna go to the polygons select mode, the polygon select mode, and then we're gonna press UL to bring up the loop selection tool, and we're just gonna select these polygons here, and let's go and move them down so we get this shape right here. And I can see that we need to also move these 2 points down like this. All right. So if we move these points out a bit and these 2 points here, we'll move them down. So we get a little more nice of a shape. All right. So that's it. Let's call it petal. And everything is just called petal now. All right, let's put it down in the petal null. Let's unhide the cloner. And let's go down here. And let's grab a spline warp. And the spline warp we're going to place under the petal right here. And the spline warp, we're going to tell it to use the petal spline as the target. And as you can see, if we go here, it has used this as a target. And I can actually see right now that we need to go into the polygon mode. And we have already selected the polys, remember? And we need to bring them further down so we get much more of a bend in the petal. All right, see where we're going with this? Nice. So sometimes, as you can see here, let's just stop the playhead. Cinema is displaying the spline a little bit weird. So if we select the spline, it disappears. That's just a thing that you need to be aware of. So it's not you that's doing the wrong thing, it's cinema, as usual. So what are we going to do now? Well, first of all, our scene is a bit cluttered. So we're going to clean it up. We're going to go to this spline warp and then just hide it. And then we're going to go to our petal spline and also hide that. All right. As you can see, we have a nice animation of a flower. So I'm actually just going to make a subdivision surface. And then I'm going to put the cloner inside. So now we just need to create the outside leaves. And the outside leaves are really easy to do because it's a clone of the petal cloner we actually just made. So we just did 50% of the work already. So let's make the shell cloner. Let's call it shell. And let's also call this petal down here so we can keep track of what we're actually working with. Let's move these two into a null by pressing Alt-G. Let's call the null flower. And let's call these shell. Let's go and hide the petals. And let's turn off the subdivision. Let's go to the shell spline here. And now we're just going to turn off some keyframes. So if you right click on the angle P and then press animation, delete track. So we're just going to delete that animation. And we're going to set it to 0. Then we're also going to set this to 0. And we are going to make it a little bit more nice in the bend. So it's actually going to be bending a lot further. So let's have it be bending to 120 minus 110 degrees. Let's set a keyframe. And as you can see, we have a much more aggressive bend. Here at the last frame, I'm actually going to show you something that could be really nice to do. So if you go and unhide the most spline, you can see we're just having a spline that's bending up right now. But if you go to the object and then you set the end to 120, maybe not that, 110 maybe. Yeah, then you can see they're bending back, and that is what we want. So maybe we'll set it to 108, that should be fine. And let's go and hide our shell so we can see what the splines are doing. So here at the start, I can actually see we need to go and make it a little bit tighter. I think 145 should be good. All right, so I'm quickly going up here to the shell cloner. So I'm gonna set it to 4 clones instead of 3. So this is more what we want. So let's unhide the shell. And as you can see, it's really intersecting and it doesn't look that great. So we need a lot more segments. Well, let's go to our shell. Let's go to object mode and let's press US, US. So we subdivided it 2 times. And that's everything we need. All right, I can actually see we forgot something. So we need to go to the Mo spline and we need to set the segments to 1. So that's much better. And then I can actually see we needed to put the end length. Let's put it to 140. And that's much better. So now we get the full effect of this leaf. And as you can see, it's really nice animation we got on it. So right now things are intersecting and we don't want that. So let's go and make a taper. And let's put the taper under the shell. Let's just press fit to parent. And I can actually see and I know that we need to do it on the X minus coordinate. And then we just need, oh, that's the wrong one. It was X plus. All right, so now you can see we are tapering in here at the top. So we are creating this shrinking effect where they got a point here at the top, the leaves, and they got a more beefy base. So we need to pull this curvature slider a bit up, and you can even pull it further than the maximum height, the maximum value of this. And I think this looks pretty good. So let's pull it a little bit back like this. Maybe we can also scale it in this direction here. And we can do this maybe. So we get a little bit more thickness here in the bottom. I think this should be nice. Haha, like this. All right. So one last thing we need to do is go to the Spline Warp. And then we need to go here to the coordinates. And then we need to turn it a bit. And I can actually show you here that we need to turn them so they are layering on top of each other. And that's how we get the seamless look. So one other thing you can do is go here to the shell mesh. Let's turn off everything so we can actually see what we're doing. And one thing you could do is go to lines mode and then just select the outer lines and pull them up a bit. So we create a really nice border. And let's turn everything back on. And as you can see, we create a little bit more of a border. And that's what we want. So one last thing you need to do with the shell is that you need to put it inside of a cloth surface. When you do that, you need to set the subdivisions to 0. And we need to add some thickness to it. So I'm going to add 3 centimeters of thickness. And I can see that it doesn't show up right now. And that's because we haven't turned on our magical subdivision surface. As you can see, They're really thick, the leaves. You can turn it down if you want to. Let's turn it down to 2. And you can see we got a problem here at the top. And that's actually just the taper that has been set a little bit too high. So we can pull it back a little bit, maybe to 80. And that's much better. So now we have some leaves. And as you can see, they're actually intersecting here at the middle. So we're just gonna quickly address that by going here to the Spline Warp and sending it from 5 centimeters. So it's not intersecting in the bottom. All right. So let's turn off the taper in the viewport and let's turn off the shell mouse spline in the viewport. And as you can see, we have created some nice leaves. So let's go to the petal and turn that back on again. And let's just see what it's doing. So as you can see, we are intersecting a bit, and that could be easily fixed by going to the petal and the petal mouse spline, then turning it down to 92. 92 should be good. All right. So 92 in the length. They're just too long. Here's our little animation. And you're probably wondering, how did you get that nice animation on it? Because it really looks a bit flat and a bit dull right now. Well, that's the reason why we used a mouse spline. Because the mouse spline is actually a simulated object here in Cinema. So we can go to the Simulate tab, we can go down to Forces, and we can use the Turbulence force. And it will affect, as you can see, it will affect our flower. So one thing we need to do at the start so it doesn't glitch out is set the scale to 25, set the frequency to 25, and set the strength to 2. And as you can see, we still get a little bit of a glitch here at the end. If I turn the strength up, you can see it a little bit more. So when the animation stops at frame 90, it just jumps. And how do you fix that? Because we don't really want that in our animation. Well, there's an easy fix. So Cinema works by doing keyframes before simulations. So the way we have set it up here is actually a bit wrong. We need to bring the mouse spline on top of our mesh. And we also need to do it here in the shell comp, because the cloner otherwise gets really confused by what is going on with this mouse spline. So as you can see right now, we have some animation and it's not jumping anymore. There is a little wiggle here at the start, but that's just the noise that's too low. We can set to 50 in the scale, and then it will not do that anymore. But wait, we have lost our alignment here at the start. Oh no, what do? We simply just go to frame 10, where it's a bit open or just a frame. Let's say frame 20. We'll set the strength to 0. And we'll go to a frame where it's more open. Let's say frame 40. We'll set it to a strength of 10 again, or a strength of 5. That should be a little bit more aesthetic. So when we animate it now, we have some nice looking dynamic animation on our flower. And the animation can actually go on as long as you want. So we can do 1,000 frames. And as you can see, we are still simulating. And it's a really fast effect on your computer. And just for a good old sake, I'm just gonna make 2 materials and I'm gonna put them on this cloth surface and this petal. And I'm just gonna make them colored so you can see what's going on. And as you can see, it's a nice flower effect. So that was how to create this simple looking but really elegant flower. And if you want to share how you created this flower at home, then there is a link to my Discord where you can share all your resources, and you can also get help by other creative individuals. So make sure you don't miss out on all the fun down there. There's also a link in the description to my pack, my lighting pack that I used in this video. So you could also subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, because it really helps me out making these videos. And without further ado, I'll see you guys next time for some more flower creations.